how do we find our best ideal customer? So ideal is the ICP, the ideal. This brings us to a conversation where how wide do we go and how narrow do we go? It's still an ideal client profile. Business owners is not general public, but it's fairly wide still. But I can also say I worked with barber shops in Banning. Okay, so now we're going to a very, 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 very specific. So on what basis, on what decision do you make whether you go wide or narrow?
What's the sweet spot?
What's the sweet spot? So let's have a dialogue here.
I mean, there's so many factors to consider, and it's interesting the way that you presented it, thinking of it as ourselves and our skill sets can kind of be separated into these niches, but we can't be everything in our chosen career path. So we have to find a certain area to specialize in. So I appreciate this example that you provided and how it kind of gives that context. As far as knowing where that sweet spot is, I think that there's probably a trial and error process to it. There's definitely more research that goes into it. And then I think passion, as you mentioned, is going to be a part of that as well. If you have certain areas that you're more passionate about, of course, that's an area that you're going to lean into as well.
So the question is whether we go broad versus narrow and where do we fit on the spectrum?
Yes.
So the higher the ticket, the narrower you want to be. So let's say if you're selling something for $100, you want to be as broad as possible. If you are selling something for $10,000, you want to be as narrow as possible.
Very interesting.
So for example, in the Rolex, right? How narrow is the Rolex client? It's very narrow because, their price tag. When it comes to content, if you're creating content, who do you target? Broad or narrow? If you want more views, you will go broad. If you want less views but deep connection with those audience, you will go narrow. If you want like those, for example, if someone is really a fan of a specific football club and they are in the same school district and stuff, like they will be like your buddies more than your audience on social. But then the broader you become, the more like people become indifferent about your content, but they will consume it. But because it's so broad, they don't feel that like fanatic or affiliation with your brand so a lot of people chase the views. Like we want to get viral, we want to go get a lot of views. But there's some people, they say that if you have smaller amount of views, but these are hardcore supporters of your brand, you may make more money from those than the rest. So in general, if we want to find our target audience, there's that. When it comes to, let's say you listed down all the people you've worked with before. And you start listing down. So now how would you evaluate your ideal client? So this is, you see where we're going with this. So we will put the people in our list. So let's say we identified 10, 15 people in our book of business. And we say, okay, our services solve some sort of problem or a pain. Now, how big is that pain to that group of customers? So if they have the biggest pain and you desperately want you, so you put them in the in this category right here, in the biggest pain category. And then how easy is it to find them? So there are some niches or some that are so niched out that it's almost impossible to find. Like they're really there's no like trade groups around them. There's no BNI. They're not part of BNI. So there are some particular niches that are so hard to find. So you could rank them which one are easier to find. Let's say in our case, what are easier to find? The BNI groups. People in the BNI, they're easier to find for us because we're members. People within the Inland Empire in general are usually easier to find than people in New York. So we start looking for the people who are easier to find. So now this is when you take this book of business and you list down all the people who are easier to find. Now there might be intersections between these two circles. So there might be some people here in these circles, and that's okay. And then the third category is that purchase power. So do they have the means to buy from your services? And so in this case, you may have some people, because there's always unicorns. There are always people within a particular niche that can afford and they can indulge into something bigger. But if you look at it in general, who are do this group of people or a group of do this niche, generally speaking, can afford. Take, for example, if junk removal. I'm sure that you will find junk removal companies who can afford, who make millions of dollars and can afford $10,000 service. But then if you look at 80 or 90% of junk operators, they're probably just a one person with a trailer. And so they are barely trying to like survive. And so then you will ask yourself, are they your ideal? Do they have that purchase power in general? Again, you will always find anomalies in this. And then the last category, which is a lot of people ignore, is do we enjoy working with them? The reason why people ignore it is because they think, oh, I'm in business, I don't have to like what I do. But you will very soon realize that if your business does not bring you any joy, then you will be easier to give up on it. And so you may have, like, I'll tell you part of my experience. I got a very lucrative job as CMO of an insurance company. And I was getting paid really well, way more than the previous one. But I was completely miserable. And so I knew that even if they pay double of what I'm already paying, I'm still not going to work for them.
Of course.
And so that really tells the thing. Like, we are people who like to enjoy working with whatever we're working. So that's part. So anyway, so this is the circle. Once you identify items in each of these categories, you may find that sweet spot in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's when you will say, okay, I'm going to lean in to this ideal client.
Excellent. What a great example. And, these are qualifying questions. We had our sales discussion last time, and these are all questions that we should be asking ourselves and evaluating when we're qualifying leads as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. A lot of business say, we work with everyone. That's okay. I mean, if someone wants to offer you their money and they're a good fit for the service and you want to do it, I'm not saying that once you find your ideal client, then you will start saying no to every other opportunity.
Of course.
But this will help us in whenever we have a boardroom, whenever we are in a meeting and we have to have a customer seat on the table, because and then we will imagine that ideal client and we put them in the seat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
A question about being easy to find, because I think that there are some unique ways to interpret that, especially in our industry. When I think of easy to find, I don't, I think of it in a few different degrees. When you're looking for an ideal client for Parrots Lab, is it ideal to find someone who's not easy to find because of the opportunity to allow them to be found and to be seen? Or is it better to lean into a client who maybe is easier to find just because of an easier starting point, I guess?
Gotcha. When we're looking here, we're looking at that category of clients and not a specific one. Of course, like in our case, if someone already on social media and like all over the place, then, probably they don't need us because they already have a team or whatever. But when we're looking at the ideal client profile, we're looking at the niche itself.
Yes.
Like, for example, I will give you 2 examples and you tell me which one is easier to find. Okay. Injury lawyers versus watch repairers. The watch, the people who repair watches. Watch repairers. Which one is easier to find?
I would say injury lawyers.
Yeah.
They're just it's more saturated, I think.
Yeah. I mean, a simple Google search, injury lawyers, a lot of
many.
Google business profile will pop, and then now you have leads. And then you can go like a lot, like cybersecurity special. I mean, you probably can find any right now with Google and AI and all of that. It's not impossible. So yeah, probably the easy to find. If I will put it in terms of importance, it's probably nowadays is not as important as the other.
Interesting.
Do they have a big pain that you're solving? Do they have the means to afford what you have to sell? And do you enjoy working with this category of clients?
Yeah, those are definitely important. And I think it's also about the potential impact. Of course we believe we can always bring value, but how much value do I feel I can really bring to this client based on their current pain points and all of those other
You
things.
bring a great point. And this is very much correlated to the biggest pain. If they have a biggest pain, your service is going to deliver much more impact.
Absolutely.
Because they have a big pain.
Yes.
So so yeah. This is how we look at ideal client profiles.